Yeah, welcome to the Weege Show, brought to you by the Honda CRF250R and CRF450R Tampa Monster Energy AMA Supercross. Not on my list of races to go to this year. I'm scheduled for 27 out of 31, so we're just going to have to get through the races I'm not scheduled for together. But I have a whole army of 250SX East riders to help us together to get through this. So let's get to some highlights from today's 250 press conference, starting with breaking news. Cameron McAdoo injured again, but racing again. This is normal for McAdoo. And by the way, this injury incurred due to a bike failure, and I believe that also caused him to get hurt going into last season. He then did race, as we know, and then got hurt again on his own. But bike failures are the not discussed often enough danger of the sport. Here's McAdoo on a torn ACL.
I can confirm it. Unfortunately, last week I had something happen completely out of my personal control and resulted in a crash, and I did end up fully tearing my ACL. With that being said, I'm super grateful to be here with you guys, and God willing, my leg will be strong enough to do this tomorrow. I felt that the team has worked way too hard. I've worked way too hard this off season for this to be the way our 2025 racing portion of my 2025 book ends. And I feel that I owe it to myself and I owe it to the team to give it everything we have.
McAdoo not alone. Chance Hymas, he tore his ACL, retore the one he had fixed going into last year's 250 East opener. It was a rough Supercross season for him. He obviously righted the ship and rode very well in Pro Motocross, but he needed to get that ACL fixed again, which he did. And I talked to Lars Lindstrom, the Honda HRC Progressive team manager, last Saturday, and he was leaning toward the team wasn't sure if Hymas could race. Chance himself wanted to. From what I've heard, he had a very good week of testing the last 2 weeks, and they thought, all right, they're going to let him race. Here's Hymas' strategy for Supercross.
I'm in this scenario right now where I need to race myself into shape. Go about it the best way possible. Try not to take more risks than I need to. At the end of the day, the team and I discussed both our goals is a motocross championship right now. So where I'm coming in, and the team originally wasn't really planning on me racing this weekend. I just need to, go out and learn a bunch. Unfortunately, these last couple of years, I've missed out on some races and, missed those valuable learning experiences. So going to go out, learn as much as I can, not take too many risks. But at the end of the day, I'm still a racer. I'm still going to go give it my all. And, if I'm in a situation where, there's a podium, a top five, or even a win, if I'm in that situation, I'm going to take it. So, at the end of the day, I need to get out of this weekend healthy. Just each weekend get out of it healthy and, just learn as much as I can for, I guess, now next year. So
see how that turns out for Chance. You just hope he doesn't re-tear it like he did last year. But I do understand the urgency on his part to actually log some laps in Supercross because he's rapidly losing time on the experience front there with a couple of Supercross seasons of injuries. And 2 years ago, by the way, he only raced half the Supercrosses because that's what they wanted to do. It was like, your real pro debut is going to be when outdoors begins. We'll let you race a few Supercrosses. Chance probably wishes he had logged a few more back then 2 years ago, but who knew that all these injuries were coming? You know what's weird? Going into a Supercross season and seeing Austin Forkner as the one who isn't being talked about coming off of injuries. We all know how last year began and ended for him, but now he's on a triumph and some life changes for him as well.
Signing with a new team, do you have a lot of pressure on yourself?
We know the bike can do it now. So, that's, I guess, adds confidence, but also maybe adds a little bit of pressure because it's like, okay, the bike's capable and the bike's good, so it's kind of up to me. I kind of already had a feeling that we were close, which is how the bike's been feeling and everything like that. So, pressure, I don't know, not really. The pressure kind of, or the I don't know, I guess mindset maybe of pressure, I feel like has changed a little bit now that I'm about to be a dad in a month or so. That's kind of changes like my outlook on things a little bit. So not 100%. I mean, when the gate drops, it's still those doesn't matter if that it's on. So my mindset's kind of shifted a little bit in that way. So pressure, yeah, there's always pressure. Pressure to win, not necessarily, but just pressure to, just be there all season. I want to be there all season and give myself the best shot and the best. I'm not just racing, I guess, for myself anymore. I'm racing for now about to be a family, so I kind of have to think about things like that and come home every night. So there's kind of that side of things. So pressure to win, not crazy. I know that I can, but just a little bit of a different outlook.
Couple other riders that were spoken to at today's press conference. There's not much to say about Max Anstey or Pierce Brown. They're adjusting to the motorcycles, but I will give credit to today's press conference host and my colleague Jason Thomas. He really says with these two, it's all about the starts. Anstey was great last year on what was then called Firepower Honda, but the starts weren't there, and that was a problem. They eventually fixed the starts, but by then he had a DNF and lost the point lead. If he can start up front, I think Anstey can run with anyone, and that is also the case with Pierce Brown, who, little did we know until Brown told me about halfway through last year, he's not good at starts. But there is a silver lining if you're a Pierce Brown fan. You're thinking, well, now he's on the Monster Star Yamaha, that's so fast. Actually, starts for them in Supercross haven't been as much of a walk in the park as they are outdoors. I think when you get to the longer straights and the really deep disked dirt that pulls a bike down, then the power advantage of the Yamahas, that's when that really begins to take hold. Sometimes their bikes are almost too fast, I think, to get starts in Supercross. But for Brown, it's not about power. He told us in December this is the first bike he's ridden in ages without a hydraulic clutch, and he cannot believe the difference in feel and how much happier he is with a cable clutch. But, everyone's happy in the off-season, right?
It's been cool. It's been interesting. And, just been putting in my laps, doing my work. And, off-season's the off-season. We all feel good coming in. But I guess we'll see where we all are tomorrow night and we'll go to work.
Yeah, Max knows it. Everything can work at the test track. We'll see. I think Brown starts, are they fixed? Are they better? Historically, when you're not a good starter, you're never a good starter. But Eli Tomac's turned it around the last couple of years, so we'll see how it goes for Brown. Also on the list to discuss are the champions, and that is RJ Hampshire and Tom Vial. Vial, not much to say. He's sticking with the same trainer, same program. I think what we're wondering is, he already is the 250 East champ, but it was pretty early in his Supercross development. How much better is he going to be simply because it's his third year racing Supercross? And even the KTM folks themselves admitted it was a little bit helpful that last year, most of the East races had some form of rain and mud. They weren't full mudders, but a lot of the whoops became kind of mushy jumpers, and Vial's Supercross whoop skills were never really needed. Is he good enough if these tracks this year don't turn out that way? I guess we'll find out. Hampshire, meanwhile, coming back from a wrist injury that didn't heal right last year.
Yeah, and it's not just kind of the injuries and stuff. Like, man, just a lot happened. But, man, I'm confident where I'm at now. Last couple weeks have been really well. I've gone really well. If I had to race A1, it wouldn't have been good for myself. I wasn't in a good spot. So mentally, physically, I feel good. I feel good on the bike. I can pretty much do everything I want to do. Just accepted the fact that I'm going to have some pain in my wrist a few weeks ago. Like that, it's not going to go away. But I'm okay with that.
And one more rider to talk about and to, that's Levi Kitchen. The mysterious illness, he now identified what it is and how much time he had to take off.
Unfortunately, I flew out to California Monday before A1, and then I rode Tuesday and got home where I was staying at Mitch's there, and I started kind of feeling crappy. So that's when it hit me, and then I took, like I said, that whole week off, the whole next week after that, and I think I started riding like maybe Tuesday after or whatever, and honestly, I feel that little break might have helped me in a way. Like, it wasn't nice to be sick, but it was kind of nice to get a little bit of a break and then kind of get back in the swing of things. And as anybody knows, like, once you already have your base, it takes like a week or so to kind of get back where you were. And I feel really good right now. I'm excited.
Now let's talk the 450 class, which looks a lot different now that Jet Lawrence is out. Yes, Jet's competitors have stepped up this year. There's no doubt that Eli Tomac and Chase Sexton are better this year than last year. And I don't think Jet and that motorcycle are quite as good at the beginning of 25 as they were at the beginning of 24. So this is not to say that Jet was going to win the title for sure, and now it's finally wide open. I don't want to make it seem like those other riders couldn't have won without him there anyway. But there is a big shadow with Jet Lawrence's championship #1 plate hanging on the bike, his overall performances he's had on a 450 ever since he's gotten on it. You cannot rule out the idea that he might have been capable of going on a win streak or might have won this title anyway. So simply removing that from the equation, I think, is a big shakeup, even if he wasn't the point leader already. Now, with all that couching and all that very careful, politically correct explanation out of the way, this is going to be a wild series now, because we've already seen what it looks like when you have Tomac and Sexton and some others like Ken Roczen and Cooper Webb in the mix. They've put on banger Supercross championship campaigns before, and they're set to do that right now. And one rider who I'm really looking at is Cooper Webb. Every year, heck, probably every morning at the races, Cooper Webb doesn't give you a reason to think that he's the best guy. It happens all the time. The amount of comments I've seen from fans through the years that Webb just isn't fast enough to get this done is astounding. I know he's not fast or as fast as the other guys, but it doesn't matter. Not only is he a 2-time champion, but let's think about some other seasons that we might have forgotten how close he actually was. Most people remember 2023 as Tomac had it, Sexton was second, Tomac got hurt, Sexton won the title. Cooper Webb was actually ahead of Chase Sexton in points a week before Tomac got hurt. Webb knew he had to rough up Tomac. He had to do something crazy with 3 races to go. They were battling in a heat. Webb uncharacteristically went down. I think he was riding over his head to try to stay ahead of Eli or pass him back or do some sort of Cooper Webb type trick. Then ended up going down and getting hit and getting a concussion, and his season was over. He was ahead of Chase Sexton in points at that point. If Webb doesn't crash in that heat, he is the one that inherits the point lead and possibly the title instead of Sexton in 2023. That's how close he was, even if he wasn't quite as fast as Tomac and Sexton. And last year, the field was good, but he was the one that was giving Jet Lawrence the closest competition to the end. He even dug out a podium with the bad thumb at the final race of the year to make it as difficult on Jet as possible. In other words, even when Webb doesn't win the title, he's darn close. He's kind of Chad Reed-like in that way. He either wins it or is heard from throughout the season and nearly wins it. And I have no reason to think that it will be different this year. Consider, he hasn't said much about it, but Webb missed a lot of time in the offseason with an injury, and he was ill at one of the rounds. Glendale is not a good race for him historically, and he wins one of the races and gets on the podium. He rode very well in the other 2, even without good starts. I believe this is actually a better start to the season than Cooper thought he was going to have, considering the offseason injury. Not best of the West Coast tracks, especially Glendale. You name it. I think he's probably better than he even hoped to be at this point, and he's just going to get better. And with Lawrence going out, you start to see the type of case that Cooper Webb builds. It's the old Chad Reed motto, you got to be in it to win it. He's in it. Don't sleep on the number 2. I know Sexton and Tomac are bad fast. Roczen has been great and an awesome story, and there's so many other great riders in this field, but I think the Lawrence thing is a quick reminder of how quickly these championships can change, and that's the kind of thing Webb's counting on. We'll see how it turns out in Tampa.